Imagine walking past your neighbor's house. They drive a dented, 10-year-old pickup truck, wear plain clothes from Walmart, and live in a very modest home. You'd probably assume they're just getting by, right? Now, imagine the guy down the street. He drives a brand new Porsche, wears a Rolex, and lives in a massive mansion. You'd think, wow, he's absolutely loaded. But what if I told you the truth is exactly the opposite? What if the guy in the old truck is a multi-millionaire, while the guy in the Porsche is just one missed paycheck away from complete bankruptcy? In this video, I'm going to take you through 5 powerful levels of wealth creation that will completely shatter how you look at money. By the time we reach level 5, the lessons from this book might just change your life forever. Level 1, the greatest illusion about wealth. What does a millionaire look like? Take a second, close your eyes and picture one. You probably imagine a luxury mansion, an exotic sports car, designer suits, private jets, a lifestyle that screams success. But what if I told you that the person living next door in a modest house, driving a 10-year-old pickup truck, wearing an ordinary watch, could be worth millions, and the person showing off the luxury lifestyle might actually be drowning in debt? Sounds unbelievable? Yet this single idea completely changes the way we think about money. Welcome to the Millionaire Next Door. This isn't just a book about becoming rich. It's about exposing one of the biggest financial illusions modern society has ever created. In this documentary, we'll explore its ideas through 5 levels. Level 1, the greatest illusion about wealth. Level 2, the millionaire mindset. Level 3, society's biggest financial trap. Level 4, the science of building wealth. Level 5, the philosophy of financial freedom. So, let's begin. From the day we're born, society quietly teaches us a dangerous lesson. The more expensive you look, the more successful you must be. Luxury cars, designer brands, massive homes, expensive vacations. Social media makes this illusion even stronger. Every day we're surrounded by images telling us that wealth has a certain appearance. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Real wealth often looks incredibly ordinary. Psychologists call this status signaling. For thousands of years, human beings have tried to communicate their social status to the people around them. Long ago, status came from hunting skills, land ownership, or military power. Today, it often comes from luxury brands, oversized houses, and expensive cars. The instinct never disappeared. Only the symbols changed. But here's the problem. When your financial decisions are driven by the desire to impress other people, you're no longer building wealth. You're buying approval. And approval is one of the most expensive things a person can purchase. This is where we must separate 2 words that most people mistakenly treat as the same. Income and wealth. Income is what you earn. Wealth is what you keep. Someone earning $500,000 a year can still have almost nothing left after paying for an oversized mortgage, luxury vehicles, credit card debt, and a lifestyle designed to impress others. Meanwhile, another family earning far less may quietly invest, avoid unnecessary debt, and allow time to work in their favor. From the outside, the first family looks successful. The second family actually becomes successful. Economics teaches us something surprisingly simple. Money you spend is gone. Money you save has potential. Money you invest can begin working harder than you do. That is the difference between looking wealthy and becoming wealthy. Imagine 2 neighbors. Both earn similar incomes. One upgrades everything every time they get a raise. A bigger house, a newer SUV, more expensive vacations. The other neighbor also enjoys life, but quietly invests part of every paycheck. Year after year, without trying to impress anyone. Fast forward 15 or 20 years. The first neighbor may still appear richer. But appearances don't pay retirement. Appearances don't create financial freedom. Assets do. This is exactly why so many people confuse lifestyle with wealth. And perhaps the biggest psychological trap behind all of this is comparison. Behavioral scientists have shown that people rarely judge success in absolute terms. Instead, we compare ourselves with those around us. Your coworker buys a new car. Suddenly yours feels outdated. Your friend moves into a larger home. Now your house somehow feels smaller. Nothing actually changed. Only your reference point did. This constant comparison fuels what economists call lifestyle inflation. As income rises, expenses quietly rise with it. The paycheck grows, but real wealth never does. So here's a question worth asking yourself. Are you making financial decisions to build your future, or to impress people who probably aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you imagine? Because the wealthiest people often spend far less energy trying to look rich, and far more energy becoming financially independent. That's why, in many neighborhoods across America, the millionaire isn't always the one everyone notices. Sometimes, the millionaire is simply the quiet person living next door. Level 2. Level 2, the millionaire mindset. If becoming wealthy was simply about earning more money, then every highly paid professional would eventually become rich. But that's not how the real world works. This is where the Millionaire Next Door reveals one of its most powerful insights. Most people believe that a higher income automatically leads to greater wealth. It sounds logical. But in reality, income and wealth often travel in completely different directions. Because before people become wealthy in their bank accounts, they first become wealthy in their thinking. And that's the difference most people never notice. Imagine two people working for the same company. They earn similar salaries. They live in the same city. They have similar opportunities. 20 years later, one has built financial independence. The other is still living paycheck to paycheck. What changed? Not their income, their decisions. Psychologists have long observed that our lives are shaped less by dramatic moments and more by the small choices we repeat every single day. Every purchase, every investment, every financial habit quietly shapes the future we're creating. Let's imagine two friends, Alex and David. Both earn comfortable incomes. Alex believes, I'll enjoy my money first. Whatever is left at the end of the month can go into savings. David follows a different philosophy. Pay your future first. Live on what's left. At first, their lifestyles look almost identical. But over the years, the gap becomes impossible to ignore. Not just financially, mentally, but emotionally. Behavioral economists call this delayed gratification, the ability to sacrifice a small reward today for something far greater tomorrow. This isn't just a financial habit. It's a psychological advantage. The hardest part about building wealth isn't investing. It's resisting the constant temptation to spend. That's why truly wealthy people ask a different question. Instead of asking, can I afford this? They ask, is this worth sacrificing my future for? That single shift in thinking changes everything. Modern consumer culture constantly whispers the same message: upgrade your phone, upgrade your car, upgrade your house, upgrade your lifestyle. But psychology tells us something fascinating. Human beings adapt remarkably fast. The excitement of a new purchase fades far quicker than we expect. What once felt extraordinary soon becomes ordinary. Then we begin chasing the next upgrade. And then the next. The cycle never really ends. This is why many people spend their entire lives increasing their income, yet never feel financially secure. Because their desires grow just as fast as their paycheck. Now picture someone else. Someone who quietly invests a portion of every paycheck. They're not just saving money. They're buying future freedom. Every dollar invested today creates choices tomorrow. Choices to work because they want to, not because they have to. And perhaps that's the greatest definition of wealth. Not owning more things, but owning more control over your own life. Real millionaires understand this. That's why they spend less energy trying to look successful, and far more energy becoming financially independent. Because true wealth is invisible. It's reflected in your net worth, not your social image. And that's where most people fall behind. They spend years learning how to earn more, but almost no time learning how to think differently about money. Always remember, wealth doesn't begin inside a bank account. It begins inside the mind. Change the way you think, and your decisions begin to change. Change your decisions, and over time your entire financial future changes with them. Level 3. Society's wealth illusion. Let me ask you a simple question. If no one could see your life, would you still buy the same car? The same house? The same designer clothes? If your answer is no, then perhaps many of your financial decisions aren't driven by your needs. They're driven by other people's opinions. This is where the Millionaire Next Door reveals one of the most uncomfortable truths about wealth. Most of us believe we're making independent financial decisions. But social science tells a very different story. Human beings are deeply influenced by the people around them. From childhood, we're shown the same image of success: a luxury home, a luxury car, luxury vacations, luxury brands. Over time, our brains begin to associate appearances with achievement. And without realizing it, we slowly stop earning money to build wealth and start earning money to display success. That single shift changes everything. Psychologists call this social comparison. We rarely measure our lives in absolute terms. Instead, we compare ourselves to those around us. Yesterday, your car felt perfectly fine. Then your neighbor bought a brand new SUV. Suddenly, your car feels outdated. Nothing about your car actually changed. Only your perspective did. The same thing happens with homes, vacations, watches, phones, even careers. The comparison never really ends. And that's exactly why millions of people remain trapped in a financial race they never consciously chose to enter. Economists describe this as lifestyle inflation. As income increases, expenses quietly expand to match it. A larger paycheck leads to a larger mortgage, a nicer car, more subscriptions, more expensive habits. From the outside, life looks more successful. But behind the scenes, savings barely grow. Investments remain neglected. Financial freedom gets pushed further into the future. Now ask yourself this. As your income grows, is your net worth growing with it? Or just your monthly expenses? That question separates consumers from wealth builders. Here's what makes real millionaires different. They aren't competing with their neighbors. They're competing with yesterday's version of themselves. Their goal isn't to impress strangers. Their goal is to create options. Because real wealth isn't about looking successful today. It's about having freedom tomorrow. That's why many genuine millionaires live surprisingly ordinary lives. They don't feel the need to prove their success. They understand something most people don't. Every dollar spent trying to impress someone else is a dollar that can no longer work for your future. Consumer culture constantly sends us one message: buy more, upgrade more, own more. But financial independence whispers something completely different. Spend less than you earn, invest consistently, and let time do the heavy lifting. One message feeds your ego. The other builds your future. Think of wealth like a tree. Most people spend all their energy decorating the branches, buying bigger symbols of success. Very few spend time strengthening the roots. But when the economic storm arrives, only the trees with deep roots remain standing. Wealth works the same way. Strong financial foundations are usually invisible until the day they're needed. So perhaps the real question isn't, how wealthy do people think I am? The real question is, if my paycheck stopped tomorrow, would my assets continue supporting my life? That single question reveals the difference between appearing rich and actually being wealthy. And level 4. Level 4, the science of building wealth. What if I told you the most powerful force behind wealth isn't money? It's time. At first, that sounds almost too simple. But history tells a different story. Again and again, the people who built lasting wealth weren't necessarily the highest earners. They were the ones who understood how to make time work for them. And that's where the Millionaire Next Door reveals one of its most practical lessons. Most people believe wealthy individuals possess some secret investment strategy, some hidden formula, some exclusive financial shortcut. But the truth is far less exciting and far more powerful. Their greatest advantage isn't luck. It isn't intelligence. And it certainly isn't perfect timing. It's discipline, patience, and consistency. Let's begin with a simple economic principle. Opportunity cost. Every dollar you spend carries a hidden price. Not just what it buys today, but what it could have become tomorrow. Imagine spending $5,000 on something you don't truly need. The real cost isn't $5,000. The real cost is every future dollar that money could have earned if it had been invested instead. That's how wealth builders think. They don't just ask, how much does this cost? They ask, what is this decision costing my future? That one question changes the way you see money forever. Now let's talk about one of the quietest forces in finance: compounding. At first, It feels almost invisible. A small investment, a modest return, nothing dramatic, nothing exciting, which is exactly why so many people give up too early. They mistake slow progress for no progress. But compounding doesn't reward impatience. It rewards consistency. Think of planting a tree. For years, very little seems to happen above the ground. But beneath the surface, the roots are growing stronger every single day. Then one day, the growth becomes impossible to ignore. Wealth follows the same pattern. The biggest results usually arrive long after the hardest part has already been done. That's why successful investors rarely chase overnight success. They trust the process. Now imagine two people. Both invest the same amount every month. One begins at 25. The other waits until 35. Who builds more wealth? Most people instinctively answer, the person who invested more money. But in many cases, the answer is the person who simply started earlier. Because investing isn't just powered by dollars. It's powered by time. And time is the one asset that can never be replaced. This is why genuine millionaires don't obsess over getting rich quickly. They focus on making smart decisions consistently. Because they understand a simple truth. Small, disciplined choices, repeated over many years, create extraordinary outcomes. Modern culture teaches us to expect immediate results. One-click shopping, instant entertainment, next-day delivery. We've become conditioned to believe everything valuable should happen quickly. But wealth follows a completely different set of rules. Financial freedom grows slowly, quietly, patiently. The people constantly chasing the next hot investment, the latest financial trend, or the promise of getting rich overnight, often miss the most powerful strategy of all. Stay invested. Stay disciplined. Stay consistent. Because lasting wealth isn't built through speed. It's built through endurance. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson in this entire journey. Building wealth isn't complicated. Remaining committed to the process is. So before we move forward, ask yourself one final question. Is your money working for you? Or are you still spending your entire life working for money? Because the moment your money begins creating more money, without demanding more of your time, you stop chasing income. And you begin building freedom. And that is the science behind lasting wealth. Level 5. Level 5, the true meaning of financial freedom. Let me ask you one final question. Why do people actually want to become wealthy? Is it the mansion? The luxury car? The expensive vacations? Or is wealth simply a tool that helps us achieve something much greater? This is where the Millionaire Next Door delivers its deepest lesson. At its core, this book isn't really about becoming a millionaire. It's about becoming free. Because the true value of wealth isn't measured by how much money sits in your bank account. It's measured by one simple question. Who controls your life? You or your financial obligations? Think about it for a moment. If tomorrow morning you decided to leave a job that no longer fulfilled you, could you do it without fear? If the answer is no, then perhaps the real problem isn't your income. It's your dependence. And that's a distinction many people never recognize. Most people treat money as the destination. But financially intelligent people understand something different. Money is not the goal. Money is the vehicle. A vehicle that buys something far more valuable than luxury. It buys time. Because in the end, time is the only asset that can never be earned back. You can recover from financial loss. You can rebuild a business. You can even start over after failure. But no amount of money can purchase another yesterday. That's why genuine wealth isn't just about protecting your dollars. It's about protecting your years. The most successful millionaires don't simply manage their money. They manage their freedom. Philosophers have argued for centuries that the highest form of wealth isn't ownership. It's autonomy. The ability to choose. To choose where you live, who you work with, how you spend your mornings, how you spend your evenings, and perhaps most importantly, how you spend your life. That's what financial freedom really means. It means your calendar belongs to you, not your bills. This is why appearances can be so misleading. Some people earn millions every year, yet every hour of their day belongs to someone else. Others may have far less income, yet possess complete control over their time? So who is truly wealthier? The person with the larger paycheck or the person with greater freedom? Perhaps that's the wrong question. Maybe real wealth isn't measured by income at all. Maybe it's measured by options. The option to say no, the option to slow down, the option to spend more time with family, the option to pursue meaningful work instead of merely profitable work. Because money doesn't create happiness by itself. What it can create is the freedom to build a life aligned with your values. And that may be its greatest purpose. Throughout this journey, we've explored psychology, economics, behavior, society, and investing. But every lesson ultimately points toward the same destination: quiet wealth, intentional living, long-term thinking, and the courage to stop chasing appearances. The wealthiest people often don't spend their lives trying to prove they're successful. They spend their lives making sure they remain free. So before we end, ask yourself one final question. If no one in the world knew how much money you had, would you still be living the life you're living today? If the answer is yes, you're probably building wealth for the right reasons. If the answer is no, perhaps it's time to redefine what success really means. Because becoming wealthy isn't about impressing strangers. It's about creating a future where your decisions are guided by your values, not by financial pressure. And maybe that's the greatest lesson hidden inside the Millionaire Next Door. Real wealth is quiet. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't seek applause. It simply gives you something that no luxury brand ever can: the freedom to live life on your own terms. And in the end, perhaps that is the richest life anyone could ever build. Closing narration: wealth isn't a performance for the world. It's a quiet promise you make to your future. And every wise financial decision you make today is one more step toward keeping that promise.